right. Here we are, baby. Special. This is a special one. So
This is special.
For the occasion, episode 10, I wanted to get us something special. So I went to the liquor store and got us the finest, thing, aged to perfection.
Yeah.
The nicest bottle
Wow.
of Baby Duck.
Baby Duck.
Let me get this bad boy open. Just real sucker real quick.
Woo. Look at us.
Definitely. Oh, here we go. I have fucking no nails. I should have grabbed like a knife or something. I'm gonna grab a knife.
Okay. Keep this in.
The knife. Yeah, I know.
Left.
Oh, no, I thought we were doing scissors.
Nice. Let's go.
I should have pre-opened it. Here we go, baby. We're back. Technical difficulties. Okay, I'm gonna move the mic so this thing doesn't go through your ceiling.
Oh,
but,
yeah. Yeah.
I'll make sure this doesn't overflow.
Yeah.
So this is for episode 10. Congrats, we made it week
We
by
made
week.
it.
Haven't missed a week. It's been special.
Yeah, go us. Let's go. We're all.
Here's the 10 more.
Yeah, here's the 10 more. We are all witnesses.
Shake it. It's coming.
He's got it.
I'm so scared, dude. Come on, baby.
Woo!
Oh yeah.
Cheers to that, my
Fucking
guy.
Jets up north, baby.
It's
Have you ever had
beautiful.
this?
Yeah.
Here, I'll give you that one.
Oh no, I want to have a sippy sip.
Yeah, of course, right under the bottle, baby. Jets up north, baby. This is very foamy, so we have to keep. It's pretty good.
It's a classic.
It is, like $8. Here we go. Leave that there. Alrighty. Look at that thing. Make sure we keep topping up
Sexy.
this episode. Look at that thing, man. Yeah, I got you, sir.
Thanks, dog. Appreciate it.
And we're celebrating another Jets dub. We're here at 4
We
and
are.
3. And then with that, we're back. Jets Up North, episode 10. Thanks for flying with us every week. It's crazy.
It is crazy.
It seems like just yesterday we were sitting on the front porch at my place, just like, hey, we should start a Jets podcast.
Conceptualizing.
Yeah. So it's special. We're happy you're here to join us today. We got a great episode for you this week. Our boy Adam has returned from the city that never sleeps, the concrete jungle, the
Yes,
Big
sir.
Apple.
Yes, sir.
New York City, went to the Jets game in person. We'll get to that here momentarily. Today, we're here to talk about obviously we're going to talk about the Jets-Giants game, the stinker that ended up being an all-time Jets classic. We're also going to talk about the Jets-Chargers game coming up. And then, obviously, we're going to talk about Adam's experience going to the game in person. There's a lot to talk about this week. We have a good matchup. It's gonna be a banger. So I guess just to summarize, Adam, I'll kind of kick it off to you here. Overall, how was your experience at the game?
It was it was good and bad. There's a beauty to seeing the Jets in person. Now, this was only my second time ever seeing them, and I know you've never seen them.
No, next year.
And it's very, I talked about it previously in the last episode. It's very surreal. Like, you watch these guys on TV and you kind of forget that they're real people in a way.
Yeah.
And it's so cool, man, seeing them in person, like seeing Sauce in person and Garrett. I got to see Breeze.
You always talked about seeing Sauce in person. Did
Yeah.
his footwork hold up?
Dude, it was so sick.
like seeing him with
man.
receivers,
Yeah,
just step for step
It
with
was
them.
so dope. I have a video. I'll toss it to our
Add
editor.
to the drive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you can.
Our editor, Greg.
Yeah, our editor. Shout out, Greg.
Our king.
Greg will put in a clip of Sauce and his footwork. It was magnificent watching him. I honestly, like, obviously you don't remember every single play when you're watching, but there
wasn't very many memorable plays to begin
True.
with.
But I didn't see like one time where Sauce was like beat or like a ball thrown his way. And I think the one play that comes to mind was Waller was on like a crossing route,
Yeah.
and Sauce was on him.
So this was earlier on in the game.
It would have been first or second quarter.
Because Waller got hurt. in the
Yeah.
game, yeah.
And Waller didn't really beat him. He's just so big that Sauce just like couldn't get his arm around him to stop it was like a 7-yard completion, so
Gotcha.
really it wasn't that crazy.
Yeah.
But then like seeing guys like Brees in person was insane. Even like shout out to the Giants, like seeing Saquon Barkley in person is like a really surreal thing because he's such a like just a specimen.
He had a great game.
He
like,
did.
And then like
well, actually, he kind of didn't. He had like
over 100 yards, but it's because like
he had 37 carries, I think.
That's crazy. That's like a 90. Like
I think he
80s
averaged
NFL
like 3.8 yards per carry. It just looks like it was a crazy game.
True. Yeah, that makes sense. But,
but he did like generate first downs for them, and you know, like hats off to him for like being such a workhorse. But I was just saying like. Even seeing like Waller too for like the limited time I saw him is so crazy seeing some of these guys you watch on TV. Our seats were incredible. The corner end zone, that was really dope.
Yeah, we'll have Greg will have pictures of those there
shout
too.
out Greg.
Yeah.
And the only issue was that it rained, and I'm sure anyone watching this probably watched the game as well that are tuning in. They saw how much of a monsoon it was there, so it was kind of hard to like be in the moment.
Yeah.
A lot of the times, especially during like lulls in the game, or if the Jets got stopped on offense, you were like, man, there's a lot of places I'd rather be right now, like the beach or something.
Yep.
Because you're just like cold.
I was warm on my couch watching that game.
I will never take being dry for granted ever again in my life. My feet were so wet. But man, like I said again, but before the podcast, Cole and I were talking about the game, and I said to him, like, if someone gave me the option to like go back in time and not go to the game, I'd say no. Like, of course I'm going to the game. Like, it's such a dope experience. I loved it. It was great. And a lot of it was like I was stressed because we were surrounded by a lot of Giants fans, and it was so funny whenever like the Giants would do something, the Giants fans would start yelling at the Jets fans. They'd start yapping. And when the Jets would do something, all the Jets fans would start doing the Jets chants, like pointing at the Giants fans. They'd be like J-E-T, like that. It was so funny. Like,
I mean, it's a rivalry.
there was literally like a fight like 20 feet behind me.
Oh, really?
And like it was like the second quarter, I think, and like some cops pulled up and they had to like kick these people out. I don't know who it was. I don't know if it was between Jets Giants fans or if it was just the same fans. Like it was just some rowdy individuals, but overall, it was a really sick experience. I love like the NFL atmosphere. It's funny how like when you're watching the game on your couch, commercials feel like they drag. But when you're at the game, the commercial breaks where the players are just kind of standing around, they go by really fast. It's really weird. You watch the water people run out. Yeah. They like spray the water into the dude's mouth and they run away, and then the play resumes. You're like, well, that was fast. How did they fit any commercials in there?
I'm curious to like, because I was every now and then I was kind of like live texting you my reactions.
Yeah.
Was there like a huge delay if I like if something happened and then I texted you like, oh shit?
It was like a 2-minute delay.
Okay, interesting.
So it wasn't bad. Yeah. I didn't want to text you.
Fair. So
I had to like. It was tough because like I said, I was talking to Cole earlier. It was hard for me to pull on my phone because it was raining so much there that like.
You had pruny fingers too.
Yeah, my fingers were wrinkly.
I was in a hot tub.
At one point, I had my poncho over my face like this, and I was inside the poncho texting like this. Like I was in like a shell of poncho, so I could text you.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, but yeah, so there was like it was a bit of a delay. So whenever something crazy would happen, I'd have to like withhold myself from like texting because I didn't want to spoil it for you.
No, that's fair. I appreciate it. I thought it was it was fun texting it back and forth here and there throughout the game.
Yeah,
I have this open here. It's funny because everyone. So obviously the Jets game and Giants game had a crazy finish.
Yeah.
And right before that, when it seemed like when Zach gets sacked on that fourth down.
Is this what I said to you?
It's also what I said to you, which was pretty funny. Zach was sacked. I said, sorry, so sorry you have to bear witness to this game. Like, I felt bad for you.
It was a brutal game.
I'm like, you're in the rain,
yeah,
like, dealing with this. I'm like, quite possibly the biggest kick in the dick ever. And then I look after it, and it's like, no fucking way, which was... So it was at 2:08 when I said the biggest kick in the dick, and at 2:14 I was like, no fucking way.
Yeah.
And so that probably was when the kick was missed by the Giants. So then after
I missed the missed kick because we were walking, like, that was when we were like walking up the stairs.
So Adam was one of the Jets fans among many that left after the Zach sack.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Not to call you out, but.
Yeah, I'm a quitter. No, I'm not a quitter.
I don't blame you.
We had a hockey game to get to immediately after the Devils were playing. And to beat the rush, as soon as I saw the turnover on downs. How much time was left? It was like a minute.
minute
45?
12 or something like
Yeah.
that. I think it was like when they got like there's that meme of Zach being like 24 seconds.
Yeah, that's all he
no
needed.
problem. Yeah.
And unfortunately, we were like, we have to beat the rush to get out.
Like many people though.
MetLife is impossible to get out of.
Especially like after a game when everyone's leaving.
Yeah, so I missed the Giants missing their kick on the way out. And then I said this to Cole actually before we started recording. I heard Jets chants like all throughout the stadium, and I was like, what is happening? So I ran back to like this group of Jets fans, and they were all watching on the big screen. And we basically watched the Jets win together, which was a cool bonding experience watching with a bunch of random
Just
fans.
huddled up around a TV.
Because prior, like 30 seconds prior, we were all sad and dejected.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of cool, getting to like watch it with all these people that we were all just at our lowest for a minute ago. And now we were all like, holy smokes, what is happening right now? That was really cool. I do wish we stayed, but unfortunately there was like so many variables as to why we couldn't stay. Like we did not account for there being an overtime in the game in regards to the hockey game.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really shitty for that. But they won. I saw it.
You got to see your boy Sauce.
Yeah, I got to see Sauce. I got to see the Garrett toe tap catch on the sideline.
Yeah.
That was like, it was on my side.
I don't know how
it
he
was
caught
a
that.
ways
Dude
down.
was like doing like a Michael Jackson Thriller like type.
Dude, it was so
move.
funny because, like I said earlier, we were surrounded by mostly Giants fans. There was some Jets fans around us, like in groups.
Mm-hmm.
But when the Garrett catch happened, all the Giants fans were like, "No, man, no way, he didn't catch that."
Yeah.
And it was like I felt like so like euphoric when they
It's
like,
that SpongeBob meme.
Yeah, I was like the wolves.
Yeah.
Greg will have to put that one in there. I like all the Giants fans. They all just immediately sat down. They were just like sad and quiet. And I was like, yes, Garrett, thank you. You proved it me right. You know,
that's awesome. That was. We'll get to that in a bit here.
Yeah.
But Garrett, that was even though with the conditions, it was a great game for Garrett. That was sweet. Brees had a great game.
Yeah, he did.
There was a lot of exciting. There was a lot of moments in the game, even though it was low scoring, that certain guys had big moments.
Totally.
One thing from at home that I was literally yelling at my TV. I was watching with Lindsay, my girlfriend, and when McGovern goes down, I'm like, that sucks. That's brutal. Offensive line injuries.
The worst part about injuries when you're watching in person is you don't know who got hurt. You just see someone on the ground,
yeah,
and no one's announcing anything or saying anything,
right?
And like, you're just like I remember Mackay went down for a bit, and I was like,
Mackay seems to go down just with like something.
I thought Zach went down because I couldn't see Zach, and
Zach got rocked a couple
and
times.
I was like, "Where's Zach? Is that him?" I was so worried, and then I see Mackay get up. Like that's how hard it is to tell.
That's crazy.
I thought Zach was Mackay
from across the stadium, yeah.
And Mackay's like the largest human of all time.
Yeah, sticks out like a sore thumb. Yeah.
So obviously, so it's just
that's funny.
Yeah.
So then, and then Wes Schweitzer gets moved to center, and then Xavier Newman.
Yeah.
That's his first name, Xavier.
Yeah.
Xavier Newman got moved to guard. Then Schweitzer goes down, and I'm literally sitting there being like, and it was on third down, so we punted after that. And I'm like, what are we gonna do? Like, who's playing offensive line? I'm like, in my head, I'm like, are we gonna move like Michael Clemens to guard or something? Like, what are we gonna do?
Yeah.
And then the first possession, I think I said out loud, I'm like, please just like have a normal snap on the first play, and it's a missed snap and a fumble, and Zach loses it, and I was losing my mind. I was like, we can't win. We're not winning this game.
I know.
Like, there's no chance. I'm like, they have a quarterback. They can run the ball, but like, how are we supposed to move the ball if the quarterback can't get the ball?
I was upset.
Livid.
Yeah, I was very.
But then after that, they settled in, and that was like, like a huge relief. Yeah. And he played fine after that.
Shout out to him for like getting the whole like spike at the very end of the game down.
Props to everybody.
Literally,
though. I think like there was that play's been dissected a bunch of times. The ref did a great job.
Yeah,
he deserves props.
It went
for
like
to spot
as perfect as it can go, and that doesn't happen for the Jets.
Matt, MYJ Matt, and MYJ Mike are on their pod. We're talking. Shout out Matt. We got to shout him out every time now. We're talking on their pod, and I think one of them said how so often like the ref is slow to go spot the ball, and that can cause delays.
Yeah,
but like. Also, like for everybody to like run up and get there, I don't like. They had the ideas like, do you think like there's like if that what happened in the Broncos game, same situation before halftime?
Yeah.
Do you think if they didn't have that situation, had it worked on it, do you think it would have helped them because they were like a fraction of a second from not getting it off in time.
Literally.
And I feel like part of them is like they had that ready to go.
A lot of things had to go right, which is crazy that they
I love
did,
that
and
it was a 99.9%.
I know.
Like success, like
literally the
Giants.
Browns game. It's
Yeah.
the same percentage of the
Yeah.
Browns game, which is insane if you
Yeah.
think about that. It's
I'm
like-
surprised the Giants didn't go for it on 4th and 1.
I know, dude. Yeah. And
Dayball was coaching to not lose, and
I
that
know,
was what
literally.
people were talking about.
Going back to the missed snap, like fumble, that one really hurt me because that was one of the few drives that I was getting hopeful that the Jets were coming our way, and I was like, okay, we need a drive here. I just want to see a Jets touchdown on my end.
That'd be sweet.
It didn't happen, obviously.
You got a DeVito touchdown. His
Yeah,
end.
and all the fireworks went off because the Giants were home technically, and I was like surrounded by Giants fans, and they were like, "Oh!" One dude like was in my
I felt
face,
like it was
and
over
I was
at
like,
that point.
Yeah, I was like, "Bro, get out of my face!" Like,
That sucks. So yeah.
I had the last laugh though. So
True, you did. It was a miraculous game. Let's get into the
Yeah.
stats really quickly here. It's kind of surreal looking at this, but we'll rattle through this really quickly here. Passing yards, Jets had 193. Giants famously had -9. I was fully prepared for the Jets to be like, I'm assuming they would be the first team ever to lose a game where their opponent had negative passing yards.
I was like, when I saw that after the game, I was like, dude, we almost lost this game.
And I was gonna come into this podcast this week and be like that the TikTok that I made or whatever
Yeah.
of me talking about
Yeah.
the cloud behind
Yeah,
us,
the
the same old
cloud.
Jets.
Yeah.
I'm like, this
That's
it was
the
coming.
cloud. That's the
But then
cloud.
we just dodged it.
Yeah.
So then rushing yards, Giants had 203. Team split sacks, and then Giants forced two turnovers. Jets had 193 passing yards, 58 rushing yards, and gave up 4 sacks. Like I said, didn't force any turnovers. So kind of surprising, like looking at that, because obviously ignoring the passing yards on the Giants, like sacks were dead even and turnovers forced. The Giants had more. So like looking at that, you're like, oh, like Giants really should have won the game.
Yeah.
Going into top performers here, I'm gonna jump the first one there and go right to our boy Thomas Morstead. He won Special Teams Player of the Week. You got to see some of those insane punts.
I did.
I don't know how, like, to do that normally is insane.
Oh yeah.
But also to do that in the pouring rain.
Oh yeah.
He had 3 punts inside the 5.
It looks even more impressive in person. It's very weird.
Oh,
Seeing the ball like arc up and then like land within like 3 yards of the end zone. Like it's crazy.
yeah,
dude.
and just rest.
obviously
It's surreal.
Obviously, I prefer not to see punts when I'm there in person. But
You got to see
if I
punt
got
God.
to see any punts, Thomas Morstead punts, pretty sick.
Look at him in that picture there with
Yeah,
his
he's
freaking
an
Jays,
absolute
man.
Chad. He's a unit.
He was like crying after the game because he was
I
so
know,
happy.
I
I'm like,
know.
that says a lot coming from a guy who was on those good Saints teams.
Oh,
Has
yeah.
a ring.
Oh,
For
yeah.
him to come to the Jets, he talked about how they gave him a chance when he was let go from New Orleans
Yeah.
because everyone saw him as an old punter. It's a feel good story.
It is a feel-good
and it gets
story.
and Salah said today in his presser, or sorry, no, not Salah, Jets DC Ulbrich. He said rarely you see a punter who's like part of the locker room, but he's one of those guys.
Yeah, he's a leader.
He's a leader, and
Yeah.
it's sweet that like guys from other position groups are still following him when it
I know.
comes to like how to be a professional.
Oh,
like, that's
and
sick.
This is what I wanted to talk about. You remember, I think we've talked about it earlier, or we've joked about it earlier, but
Yeah.
how he always does his sprint and he runs around. Dude, he doesn't stop.
Is he fast?
Yeah. But on the sideline, he just runs back and forth. He ran back and forth the whole game. Like he just doesn't
It's
stop
because he
running.
keeps his legs fresh.
I know, but he didn't stop. Like he like literally.
That's so funny.
He literally just did cardio the whole game. It was so
that's a
funny.
workout. That's like
yeah.
dude's doing a full like 2.5, 3 hour.
And it was so
workout.
funny because he's old, so he's got that old man run. Like he's fast, but he's got the old man run.
Yeah.
And I was just
Head
like,
down. Yeah.
I would always just like see it in my peripheral because the Jets sideline was right here where we were sitting, and I just see this like green helmet
That's
run
so
back,
good.
and I was like, I'd always look over and I was like, oh, there goes Thomas again.
Did you watch like every now and then when teams were coming off the field? Did you spend some time like watching the team, like coaches bring the team groups together
Yeah.
and like coach them
Yeah,
up and stuff?
I was
That'd be
watching
cool, too.
Jeff like talk to the D line on the bench and stuff like that, which
Sweet.
was super cool. It's like like I talked about earlier, like you see that on TV, but you in person you forget that it's like a real
Yeah.
thing. So seeing Jeff like talk to like JFM and Quinnen and like Jermaine just sitting on the bench there, such a cool moment. And
That's
honestly,
awesome.
like seeing Robert Saleh, he would always be like where the line of scrimmage was,
Yeah.
and he'd always be on the white outer line,
Yeah.
and just seeing him like pace and stuff like that. And I got to see him do a couple. Quincy had a few like stops, and you got to see him like go like he's doing his
Salah's doing his
he's
yeah.
right there on the line of scrimmage, and I was like, that is so sick, man.
There needs to be almost like for the Jets could really capitalize on just having a camera guy always follow Salah. Because I feel like they like on like after a win or
so
something,
much content, bro.
you would have so much content.
So much content.
Yeah.
He's so like lively.
Oh,
And he's
I love
always
it.
moving, like similar to Morstead. He's always moving around.
Let's keep rocking down these top performers. Breece Hall, I combined his receiving and rushing stats because he didn't have many rushing yards, but he had 18 touches for 93 yards and a touchdown.
You know what's crazy about Breece is like that's arguably the worst like rushing game of his career. I think his average was like 1.7.
But he still changed the game.
That's what I was gonna say. Is like that was his worst game, arguably. And it was still a really good game.
Yeah.
Like, that's how good he is. He's
Yeah.
literally like a transcendent player, man.
It is
He's
crazy. I still think of that clip from that guy from PFF being like, you took Breece Hall like a running back?
Over Malik Willis.
Oh, yeah.
Over Malik Willis.
Yeah.
That guy's a chump. If like
PFF gave like Breece Hall and Thomas Morstead bad ratings this
like
last week.
60s.
Yeah. It's like, bro, it's like out of what, 50 then
Yeah.
if it's Morstead. Dude literally won the ESPN, like they had like a him dog of the week or something like that, and he won it. A punter.
The what was it? The Himothy of the week.
Or something. Yeah, it's insane. That Breece Hall touchdown. We can touch on it quickly because there's a flag.
Yeah, that scared me.
No, the whole time I'm
Yeah.
watching with Lindsay, and
Yeah.
I'm like, I didn't react or anything. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh sweet. I'm just like, don't get hurt in my
Yeah.
head. I'm like, don't
Yeah.
like take a dumb hit. And they go all the way and score. I'm like, okay, well, like let's see what the penalty
Yeah.
is. And then it was defensive holding or
All
something.
the
block by CJ was insane. That was clutch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And honestly, like I loved Zach's throw because he hit the sidearm. He had like the low, and I got to see it because they were facing away going down the field, and I was watching Zach, and getting to see his like little like tucked sidearm was really cool to see in person.
I hate the argument where people are like, oh, like Breece did all the work there. Like, yes, but like I still think Zach gets, because it happens to every quarterback in the league where you have a check down and the guy runs all the way with it.
What about like Tua with Tyreek?
Yeah, so many. Or Waddle, and like
Mahomes.
some guys just throw like a 10-yard pass and the guy runs 80. It's like well, how come? But with Zach, of course, because it's Zach and the Jets, like he doesn't get that.
He still made the decision to make the throw, and he threw it at the time he did.
And it was perfect, and it hit him in the money, and
placement,
it gave Breece a chance to make the linebacker miss, bounce it, and
see, I feel like a lot of like maybe more casual viewers of the game don't understand. That's like, I'm not saying Zach's great, but I'm just saying plays like that are what make quarterbacks great.
Yeah,
that's what makes Mahomes so good and such a generational player. Is he's so good at those plays.
Yeah.
They make like the rudimentary, like the really basic stuff really basic.
Yeah.
Like they're
but
very
then
good
they
at that.
have the ability, like we saw with Zach in those final
then
two
explode
plays,
and
to then
like-
do something off script.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Totally. Okay, let's keep rattling down here. Jermaine Johnson had a huge game. 2 tackles.
Yeah.
Sorry, 6 tackles, 2 sacks, and 2 tackles for a loss. He had the penalty, which was a big pain in the butt. But that's not a huge deal. Like if it, it happened one time with him. He had a great game. It's nice that he finally got home a couple times because
True.
That Eagles game he played fantastic, but
True.
didn't have like the best
Yeah.
stat line. And then lastly here, Greg DeLeg had 2 field goals and an extra point. So there was a lot of guys throughout, like even forcing turnovers. There's nothing flashy in this game, but the
Yeah.
Jets defense really hunkered down.
They did.
And just I'm curious to see how they can kind of build off this game when it comes to like injuries and stuff like that. Because
Totally.
we lost some guys on offense and defense.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's frustrating
Losing Al Woods hurts, man.
because he was having a good year as a
yeah,
vet,
he
like
was
as a
vet.
guy. Yeah. So that's frustrating. Obviously losing McGovern, which sounds like it's his knee. So it sounds like, but they didn't rule him out for the season yet.
Yeah.
Might be like the 4-week IR cut
Mhm.
type deal. We're getting Dwayne Brown back, which is exciting because
Yeah.
we need offensive line.
We do.
Random last shout out here was I'm forgetting his name, Billy Turner.
Billy Turner.
Stepping in at guard,
Yeah.
and when he's a tackle for us,
I know.
actually like underrated thing
Totally.
that happened.
Yeah.
That's something that you get with like a backup veteran piece like that.
Yeah,
that,
he's
like,
old. He knows kind
the
of what he's
system
doing.
and everything.
So, like,
yeah,
yeah.
the fact that the Jets only allowed 4 sacks, even though Zach was getting lit up here and
Yeah.
there, but it's
How many pressures did they allow? 25 or something?
it was
like
insane.
that?
Dexter,
He had like 15. Dexter Lawrence.
yeah.
Bro was different that game.
And quick little side tangent here. So much people were hating on Zach. It's like he was playing in the worst pouring rain monsoon. Receiver, like guys are getting hurt. His
Yeah.
center is a dude who's a practice
yeah.
squad guy getting picked up.
yeah.
Like, are you
Tyrod
talking about
had
resilience?
8 yards before he got hurt.
Yeah. You're talking about like resilience against a good defense that sends pressure at you every other play.
I know.
Like I'm surprised.
Pressured 25 times.
Yeah,
25
to
times.
only take 4 sacks. Zach last year like, as a rookie is taking double those sacks.
And I think there was like
and turnovers.
4 or 5 drops that were like pretty big drops.
That Lazard drop on the drive where Zach took that huge sack was killer.
Yeah,
I thought the game was over at that point.
And like the botched snap wasn't really his fault either. So like, again, we're not sitting up here saying Zach is like
the Messiah, the guy, but like definitely deserves more praise, I would say, for this game
for sure.
And
I maybe a little quick segue, but he does have the most clutch drives in the league this year.
Clutch. Guy's a closer. We know about that. You know, the whole MILF saga. We know he's a closer. We know Zach knows how to finish off strong. I mean, most fourth quarter comebacks in the NFL so far this year. He's the only one with 3.
Yeah.
There's 7 players tied at 2. So he's one of a kind this year. And he's the only player to outplay Patrick Mahomes with every stat this game. Let's just go out in
that's
there as
amazing.
Well. We're not hyping up Zach, but he just gets more hate than I feel like is deserved at times.
I feel that.
But anyways, quick, one more thing to touch on here before we move on is a shout out to our boy Quincy Williams winning AFC Defensive Player of the Month.
Shout out Quincy.
I read that for the month of October last year it was Quinnen.
Oh really?
And so they both won
totally
in
forgot
October.
about that. That's awesome.
Yeah. So
they own October.
Quincy on like probably I forget who said it. They said it on the broadcast, but there was a player on the Jets, maybe it was CJ, who said the team MVP so far this year has been Quincy Williams, and I don't know how you argue with that.
The only other like guy that comes to mind is maybe like Brees, but honestly,
I'd agree.
I think Quincy it's crazy. We talked about this like in the previous episodes how like our D line and our secondary is our strength, but arguably the best player on the team is
our linebacker.
Our linebacker, who's a brother of our highest paid player, other than Rodgers, I guess. But
yeah.
I just think that's awesome.
It's surreal.
Like,
we brought him in. We brought him in, and he got better each year. It's like really cool to see like how this staff.
He's literally a baby Fred Warner.
Solis said when he was at San Fran, they wanted a linebacker to draft that year, and they were going to draft Quincy Williams was on the radar.
Yeah.
And the 2 guys that were kind of in that spot, what I think was like 3rd or 4th round, they were going to draft in. It was Quincy Williams got drafted right before they had the chance to take him in San Fran, and so they took Dre Greenlaw, who's really good for San Fran now.
Good, yeah.
So I thought that was a great story. So obviously, Saul and his coaching staff kind of have that. They knew when Quincy became available at Jacksonville, they had done the research and stuff on him.
They had the homework.
Yeah. So I think that's a cool little tidbit there.
It's a cool story, man.
It's exciting for him every week, man. And his Joker costume before the game was sweet as well.
Yeah.
So. All right, moving forward. Jets Chargers. I'm rocking my Tomlinson today. It's my first Jets jersey. I think Jets Chargers is kind of a low key fun like rivalry. Hasn't had many like interesting games recently. But you think back to like the 2009, 2010 seasons. There were some good games. That playoff game against Chargers.
It's like an iconic like jersey matchup.
It is.
The Jets green versus the dark blue.
I think we're going
yellow.
all white at home this week too on Monday night, which is fun. I was hoping for black pants, but oh well. So. Matchups to watch going into this. Rattle through them here real quick. Jets DBs versus the Chargers playmakers. The Jets linebackers and D-line versus the Chargers O-line and Austin Eckler. The Jets makeshift offensive line versus the Chargers D-line. And then lastly, this Jets passing attack against the lackluster Chargers pass D. Looking at some of the stats, this Chargers pass defense is booty. Their opponent pass yards per game is dead last in the league. They average 297.4 yards to the opposing team per game.
Yikers.
So it's an exciting opportunity for Zach to I'm not even saying have 300 yards, have 200 maybe. That'd be nice to see. So looking at kind of this list here, is there any kind of something that sticks out to you, something that you like think would be exciting to watch this week for this matchup?
I think, honestly, I want to see. I've been begging for it for a while now, and that's, thanks, man, an offensive performance. I want to see us. I think the matchup I'm actually very curious about would be Garrett Wilson again versus the Chargers secondary.
Yeah.
I think he could have a really good game. I really want to see him, because currently he's on pace to put up like the same stats that he had in his rookie year.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see him have like a 180-yard banger.
The game that kind of puts his average to like improve that.
It's the game that like everyone knows he's legit. Everyone knows that he's like at minimum like a top 15 receiver.
Yeah.
Like I'd say, I think planting that flag is fair.
Yeah.
But I want that game that like shows that he's like,
some people think, oh, maybe he's top 10.
he's an alpha. Like he is that guy.
I think that Giants game was pretty close. The fact that he had 100
Oh,
yards
yeah.
is pretty crazy.
And like those catches he was making were insane, man.
yeah, I totally agree. I'm excited to see what they do with Derwin James to like
Me
help
too.
combat that. Because
Yeah.
they traded away J.C. Jackson, who was probably their best corner.
Yeah.
They have Asante Samuel Jr., who's a good corner for
Mhm.
them. So that'll probably be the guy that you
Is
watch
on
for them.
Garrett.
Yeah,
But okay, honestly, like our whole line against their D line is scary.
with
But
Dwayne Brown practicing,
I
and it
know.
sounds like Titman is also was.
if Tittman can be like,
If Titman can go,
yeah,
my worry goes from like an 80 to like a 40.
that's fair. I think I can get behind that.
Yeah.
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah.
I think a great way to beat their defense though is finding like Brees in the flat. And honestly, we
Absolutely.
should utilize Izzy. I think.
I know. That's the thing that I heard, I guess, because I mentioned, I think, last week or the week before about having Izzy kind of step up, is that he's not great with pass protection. And
True.
That's super important.
I don't think.
And that's why we
Dalv
see
is
Michael
either,
Carter,
though.
because I think
Yeah.
Carter does a great
He is
for
really
being
good.
undersized, he does a good job of that.
We should sign like a big dude in the offseason at running back to just be like pass pro.
To be the stake to
And even
Brees'
like short
sizzle.
yardage situations, that way we're not risking Brees.
It would be nice to have
Because guys
like
like
a
Izzy and
complementary back.
MC are kind of small, so they're not really built for that short yardage
Yeah.
stuff. So it's Brees or like, and it's like
A guy like Leonard Fournette would have been nice.
that. Yeah, honestly, like that's the kind of guy you kind of need for that.
Yeah.
Or like, any of my friends watching this know I hate Zeke. I own him in like all my fantasy leagues.
I don't
and
like Zeke either.
I always think he's a goofball, but he's actually like top like 3 in pass pro as a running back. So if we would have signed him in the offseason instead of like Dalv, that actually
Probably would've been a
would've
little bit cheaper,
better.
too,
It would have
yeah.
been cheaper and better. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Zeke to the Jets. Yeah, that would have been nice.
Mhm.
And Zeke kind of does like he's at the point in his career now where he does everything fine.
Yeah.
He won't like wow you.
You
in
don't need him.
anything.
You don't need to give him more than 10 carries. He's there to just like be there.
assist and be a complimentary.
Whereas
piece to what
Dalv
Brees-
is like a black hole. He like
dude, it's
absorbs
crazy.
the energy level of the team.
It's nice to see that Brees is still getting the bell cow load.
Totally.
Like
Yeah, and he's so good.
yeah.
So good.
I'm excited to see. I mean, Justin Herbert. I'm excited to see what this because the one was like it's been the last time he placed like a top quarterback game was the Eagles game,
Yeah.
right? And so even a top passing quarterback, you could argue like the Chiefs game.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited to see how they do with Herbert, even though he's banged up right now with his finger.
Yeah.
But he looked good against the Bears on Monday night.
He did.
But I mean that was the Bears.
I think we're gonna give him fits, bro.
I'm not that because he's kind of banged up. I'm kind of excited to see what this Jets physical defense does to
Yeah.
like his
Yeah.
confidence that game.
Yeah.
I'm excited if they can like get some licks on him early,
Yeah.
kind of get him out of his mojo. Because when all the top quarterbacks are dialed in early on and connecting on with the receivers, like I think the Chargers playmakers, you could argue like they're for sure. I would say all across the board top 10 in the league,
Totally.
especially with Herbert. Like I'm excited to see if they can get Herbert off his groove early
Mhm.
on, and they can capitalize on that, and maybe that'll be kind of like a key to success there.
Yeah.
But like looking at like, it's kind of exciting because it's almost like it's like a nuclear bomb versus a coughing baby.
The
type.
coughing baby.
It's
yeah.
because this Jets passing defense is like Jets defense in general is fantastic, but this
Mhm.
Chargers passing offense is top 10 in the league.
I want
right
to see
now.
Sauce versus Keenan actually.
Dude.
Two
I'm
like
excited to see-
technicians like
Or Quentin Johnston on like a deep ball with Sauce or something like that.
that'd be crazy.
Like he's a big body.
Yeah.
They got Josh Palmer, who I think is great too, and Eckler, who's like that's gonna be an exciting match.
Quincy versus Eckler.
Dude's gonna be flying
matchup.
around. I'm always nervous. I always get nervous facing those good receiving running backs because they can burn you on like a random check down
And
pass.
yeah, it'll be like 3rd and 18
Forever.
and then they wreck
and a
you
screen
you're like,
pass.
"Oh my God."
Classic Jets, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see how that all shakes out. I mean, I think this is kind of like people were saying that the Jets should get flexed out now with some primetime games, but I
Yeah.
think this Jets Chargers game is shaping up to be they're both teams. Chargers are 3-4, Jets are 4-3. They're both fighting for that
Yeah.
as of right now a wild card spot.
Yeah.
Like they both are fighting basically on for the same thing right now.
It's a very interesting matchup because it's like a bottom 5 offense versus a bottom 5 defense. And on the other side, it's a top 5 defense
Versus a
a
top
5
offense.
So
So it's like something has to give, right?
yeah, like it's like it's gonna be very interesting to see which team has like if one team's offense or defense doesn't show up, they're losing like immediately. Like
Yeah.
if our defense doesn't show up, the game's over.
Yeah.
If the Chargers offense doesn't show up, the game's over for
Yeah.
them, you know.
So it's gonna be a banger of a game. I think
I agree.
this is gonna be a huge litmus test for the Jets.
I want to know what the over under on this game is. It's got to be in a weird
Let me look.
spot. My guess is 38.
Expected point total matchup is 40. There you
40.
go.
Oh, I was off by 2.
Yeah.
There you go. Very nice.
I like this game. It's nice that now being above 500 because you can start building on that and get yourself in a good position for playoffs.
Totally.
We're knocking on the door right now
Totally.
as the 8th seed.
Totally.
So that's exciting. The Chargers are a couple behind us. So
It's crazy we're going into this game with a better record than the Chargers, actually, because I thought they were going to be like
early on the
unreal.
season,
I
yeah,
thought they were going to be unreal this year.
the Chargers are a classic for being so good on paper and then just underwhelming.
Totally. They're so cursed, man.
I think we're in for a banger this week. Give me your score prediction, Adam.
I'm hoping for an exciting game, so I'm going to say 30
Mm-hmm.
to 27 Jets.
30-27.
We win. Greg the leg. Final seconds. Kicks it from like 40 yards. Right down the middle. You and I rejoice.
Mm-hmm.
And we sleep happily that night.
Bright-eyed, bushy-tailed
In the same bed.
on Monday night. Yeah, spooning. I like it. 30-27.
Yeah.
I think it's lower scoring. I said last week I gave it a high score for the Jets.
Didn't
This-
I say 12-9? And it
Did
was-
you?
I like jokingly said 12-9 for Giants. Jets.
I think you said something
I
weird
did
like
say
that.
something higher. Like my actual prediction was like in the 20s, I think.
Oh yeah.
But my joking prediction was 12-9, and the final score was 13-10.
Yeah. So the difference was that right. You
Yeah.
just one up.
Yeah.
I think this game. I think it's low scoring again. The Jets always play low scoring games. I would
Mhm.
love. Every week, I always have the thought in my head of like, maybe this is the game Zach has that Zach game. You know, like
Talked about this every week.
I know. It's like, oh, maybe he just randomly comes out and does like, remember what Fields did against Denver or whatever? Where
Yeah.
he threw for like 4 touchdowns
Yeah.
and 300 yards. Like, maybe Zach does like a little bit of that. But I don't think this is the
Okay,
game. for that.
what does it take to see? I haven't seen a game where our quarterback has thrown like 4 tuds and 350 yards.
I think
Like,
literally
when's the last time that happened?
off the
was it
top of my head,
Fitzpatrick? Like-
I'll get Greg to look into this. But if I were to guess right now, I actually think it was Sam Darnold's second season against the Washington Redacted, where he threw for like a Ryan Griffin touchdown. I
Yeah.
think it was 4.
Might have been.
And I think that was probably the last
Might have
time it was
been.
4 touchdowns.
Or it was like Mike White when he
Mike
threw like 400 yards and 3 tuds. That was
against the Bengals?
Yeah.
Yeah.
the Mike White.
Like,
game.
I'm curious. Are we saying 4 touchdowns or 3?
Well, 4. Yeah. I
okay,
think Sam
4
maybe
touchdown, like a
4.
300-yard game.
So that'd have been 2019.
We'll look into that. I'm
Bro.
guessing it's that. I'll figure that out.
Like
and
you
we'll
look
put
at
that
like
up.
Zach's game log, and it's literally like 180, 180, 180, 180, and it's like 1-0, 1-2. Like
Yeah.
I'm talking like touchdowns to picks.
Yeah.
1 touchdown.
0-0.
Yeah,
0-1,
0-0,
1-0.
0-1. Like it's like, bro, please just give me like one banging game.
I know.
Just please, just one where it's 350.
One where you're like, you look like, remember that Darnold rookie season game against
Yeah.
A-Rod where he like lit it up and you're like, oh, he's like, he's
Mhm.
going shot for shot with Rodgers,
Mhm.
and you're like, finally, like
Yeah.
just something like that where you're like something you can.
And then
just
you get,
bite
and then you get to
onto.
see like Will Levis
Yeah.
ball out, and it's like, bro, Zach,
That's
please.
so frustrating.
Yeah.
My buddy asked me about Will Levis before the game. He's like, "Oh, I need a fantasy quarterback. Should I just throw in Will Levis? Say fuck it." And I'm like, "No, like he's gonna be bad.
Yeah.
Atlanta's defense pretty good."
Yeah.
And all of a sudden he does that, and I'm like, I just obviously don't know anything. But
Yeah, I feel that.
okay, score prediction, low scoring. I think the Jets go like, I'm gonna go like 18.
Okay, that's fair.
18 Jets to 17 Chargers.
Ooh.
I think it's something close like that. I always think the Jets defense is going to keep them in games. That's
Oh,
what's
yeah.
exciting. I
It's
mean,
a blessing and a curse.
it is. Yep. So it's going to be a great game. We'll be back again next week with episode 11 to talk about it. I'm excited for after this game because we have the Raiders coming up next week. It's kind of a stretch where, hey, some more like
Yeah.
winnable games for this team. So definitely let's see if the Jets can kind of hang on to it. They're in a 3-game win streak.
Yeah.
I bug on my 49ers buddy that they're on a 3-game losing streak right now. So I was like, it was like a graphic where it was like Zach Wilson and Brock Purdy the last 3 games. It was like 3-0, 0-3, and I'm like, what's up, bro? Like, you want to talk your shit now?
That's funny.
So yeah. Anyways, we'll have you guys. Thanks for flying with us, guys. It was another banger episode. excited to see if we can get to 5-3, which is
Yeah,
exciting to say out
that's
loud.
Bizarre, but
If you would have said, going into the season that we were 4-3,
I know.
we would have
Yeah.
freaking take that.
Yeah.
So we'll be back next week once again with another
Yeah.
episode of Jets Up North. Thanks again for chilling with us, and take it easy.
Peace.
Peace.